The Clippers have built a super team, if this were 2019. With the Dodgers well rested from the All-Star break, we'll take a look at what they should focus on for a postseason run. And an Angel City player says an emergency cardiac arrest won't stop her, but we're going to ask her to stop. Good morning. I'm James. And this is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is the Faithful Angelenos Morning Report. It is July 17th, 2025. Welcome back to the Sanctum Sanctorum of LA Sports. It is a gorgeous morning to talk LA Sports. And if you like being in the know, clickety-clack the like button. Clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notification bell. Hit that. It'll let you know when we drop new content. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist. And by all means, comment. Now, before we go through the news and notes, a very quick look at the scoreboard. Austin 2, Galaxy 1. LA Galaxy, what the hell was that? Season over. Well played. Defensive back. I mean, just terrible effort out there. Meanwhile, LAFC shut out Minnesota 1-0. There are no games involving LA teams today. So what do you say we get to the news? After weeks of speculation, the inevitable has happened. Bradley Beal was bought out by Phoenix. Then he turned around and joined the Clippers. The three-time All-Star will get $11 million over the course of 2 years in LA, which is a hell of a drop from what he made for doing nothing with the Suns. Now, I bring that up not to suggest how much money Phoenix wasted, which was a ton. And I bring that up not to suggest how much money Bradley Beal is going to lose by coming to LA, which is a ton. I bring it up to give you an idea of how well the Clippers stretched out that little bitty cap space that they got from just one mid-level exception. They split the exception from that and added both Beal and a center, Brook Lopez. Moreover, if they knew that they had the inside track on Beal, all of a sudden, that recent trade of Norman Powell makes a lot more sense than it did the day the deal went down. Powell had a terrific year last year. Powell was a borderline all-star because he could create his own shot. Beal's entire career is based on how well he creates his own shot. He's a better playmaker than Norman Powell could ever be. So, overall for the Clippers, yeah, this has been a fine offseason overall. But, to be honest, how much should you buy into the Clippers? The meme was all over the social medias yesterday. Who's going to stop this big three? Wow. Who is going to possibly get these people and corral them? It's Father Time. Father Time already did stop this big three. Stop it. Cut it out. This roster is so old, James Harden took his driver's test in a stagecoach. This was at the end of last season the second oldest team in the NBA. They might be the oldest now. I haven't run the numbers yet. They are old. Who's going to stop this big three? When the guy who created that meme made that social media post, the meme generator needed extra time to Photoshop out all the liver spots. This team is old. Now, I agree this team is super deep. I agree this team is versatile. There are a bunch of old geezers out there. Injury prone too. Kawhi Leonard isn't the only guy who missed half the season, last year. You know who else did? Bradley Beal. So I'm not trying to sit there and say this is a terrible offseason. I agree this team is better than it was last season, provided they stay out of the operating room. So, yeah, if you're a Clipper fan, tell me how optimistic you are. I'm not going to say you're wrong, but it's a hell of a roll of the dice for them to stay competitive all year long. They call the post-All-Star break the second half of the season. It's not. The Dodgers have already played 97 games, but semantics. What I want to do this morning is give you a few ideas of what to expect in this so-called second half, which for the Dodgers kicks off tomorrow. Now, we've already assumed that the Dodgers will win the division. We did that before opening day. There's no reason to doubt that now. But that means if you're looking ahead to the postseason, which you should, the hope is that the Dodgers will present a rotation of Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Blake Snell, and Tyler Glasnow, provided that the latter two are healthy and productive. That's a pretty damn good playoff roto right there. Now, Dave Roberts said they have been pleasantly surprised by Dustin May's durability. Dustin May's had multiple Tommy John surgeries. He came back and he hasn't had a single problem throwing. He's had a problem with the results from his throwing. And as a result of that, the Dodgers are considering shutting him down. Why risk another injury? And maybe give him a chance to try to work out some of the kinks because his ERA sucks. The Dodgers also want to protect Will Smith. He leads the National League in batting average, but he also has a lengthy history of tuckering out in the second half. Dalton Rushing, they originally were, trying to teach him how to play left field to get him some more at-bats. He's starting like every third or fourth game, twice a week. Why? To preserve Will Smith. Roberts also said he doesn't think moving Mookie Betts back to the outfield will cure his hitting woes. And by the way, we were talking before the season about how Andrew Friedman wanted to make this team so invincible that he wouldn't have to make a trade at the deadline. He despises trading for relievers at the deadline because you're taking a guy who's on a hot streak and mortgaging way too much of your farm system. Well, guess what? Guess where the Dodger weakness is? Yeah, it's the bullpen. Now, that's partially because Tanner Scott stunk up the joint, but it's also because the Dodgers are committed to incapacitating and disfiguring their own pitching staff. It's not just the starters who keep getting their arms, whose arms keep exploding. Evan Phillips, out for the year. Now, Blake Trinan is allegedly returning. Michael Kopech had knee surgery. He's allegedly returning. But you don't know what you're going to get from them. Brusdar Graterol won't start his rehab until next month. Highly unlikely he'll be there for the playoffs. So that's 4 key relievers that you don't know what you're going to get. And a couple of them likely gone for the year. Andrew Friedman, for all the planning, for all the scheming, you had a fatal flaw in the plan. And that was choosing to keep Mark Pryor as your pitching coach and your training staff intact. That's on you. Savvy King says despite having a cardiac event during an Angel City match on May 9th, she will play again. Better than ever, she was promising all of us. Now, there is no timetable for her return. Keep in mind, she underwent surgery because her left coronary artery was a wee bit wonky. And by the way, I'm sorry if my medical terminology is a little bit too advanced for the room. A wonky artery. Now look, if you've ever had a heart attack, chances are it was in the left anterior descending artery. The artery operated on is the one that leads to the left anterior descending artery. You know what they call the left anterior descending artery in hospitals? The widowmaker. You get that? You're probably dead before you get to the OR. In order to help King stay alive after all the chest compressions, after the defibrillator, On the field, I might add, she was getting chest compressions and electric shocks. They get her to the hospital, and the care team had to create a brand new pathway for blood to get to her heart. So I'm not trying to make any jokes about this at all. But Savi King playing again is a horrible idea. Terrible. She's 20. She's got her whole life ahead of her. This is not like patching a hole in your tire tread. It's your heart. You don't go to Pep Boys to get a new heart. Again, they had to create an entire new pathway for blood to flow. And she wants to play in one of the most heart-stressing sports for 90 minutes at a time? Now, I don't know how many times I've mentioned this on this channel. I don't even know if I have mentioned this. You guys already know I'm a former sports writer. I was at the Forum covering the Lakers versus Minnesota the night Hank Gathers died on the court for Loyola Marymount. Back then, people were at Loyola Marymount. Oh, Gathers, he's going to overcome his heart issue. You know, there he was, collapsing on the court a few months ago. He's going to overcome it and play a hardcore aerobic sport, and died on the court. And the reason that I bring it up is because one of his friends that he grew up with was Pooh Richardson, the UCLA great who wound up playing for the Minnesota Timberwolves. I'm sitting there on press row watching Pooh Richardson bawling his eyes out over his dead friend on the Timberwolves bench. We don't need that again. We don't need that again. Hank Gathers dies, right? Loyola Marymount was a national story because they were scoring so many points. Hank Gathers died, and we haven't heard of Loyola Marymount basketball ever since. You talk about Loyola Marymount, the first question is, isn't that place where that one guy died on the court? So Angel City, by the way, this puts them in a super awkward place. Angel City wants to promote girl power at all costs. I get it. I do. Anything the dudes can do, the girls can do better. I understand that's their point of view. I'm not here to debate that kind of stuff. What I am here to debate is the intelligence of putting somebody who's had heart surgery on a soccer field for 90 minutes at a time. You may want to promote girl power, but you also know that people are not going to buy tickets if their wide-eyed daughter sees their players dying on the pitch. They need to get her a job at a desk. This is not a smart idea. And by the way, I'm not saying that with any snark towards the player either. The Chargers are expecting running back Najee Harris to begin training camp on the non-football injury list, but General Manager Joe Ortiz doesn't expect this to be long-term. If Harris is still on the list after roster cut down, it will make an impact on the Chargers. Harris would have to miss at least the first 4 games of the regular season. Now, if you don't remember why he's on this list, the dude couldn't handle fireworks on July 4th, and the explosion injured his eye. The Harris's agent said there's no problem, but here's the thing. Charger team doctors haven't seen the player yet, so they don't know how much damage actually is there. Now, Harris is a 4-time Pro Bowler, came to the Bolts from Pittsburgh. When he signed, the idea was he would be the starting running back because every year he passes more than 1,000 yards. Then the Chargers turned around and they drafted Omarion Hampton. Go figure. Either way, it's not a bad insurance policy to have. A couple of days ago, we were talking about a USC offensive lineman who plans to lawyer up to get 1 more year of college eligibility. Wide receiver Caden Robinson, who wants to play for UCLA, has already followed through. He is suing the NCAA because they denied his transfer from Appalachian State to Westwood over in March. Now, Robinson's people are arguing that the NCAA's eligibility rule is unlawful because it has, quote, substantial anti-competitive effects, unquote, on junior college players. Robinson was initially thought to have another season of eligibility remaining due to the NCAA issuing a blanket waiver to junior college players. But this is more than just a question of playing time. The suit claims that UCLA was going to pay Robinson $450,000 to come west. Now, $450,000 doesn't go that far in LA, but that's generational wealth in Appalachia, right? You take $450K down to the hillbilly areas and you have all the banjos you'd ever want to play, all the moonshine you could ever drink, all the ammo you'd ever want to shoot as many squirrels as you want. That is generational wealth in Appalachia. Hell, you might even get J.D. Vance to swing by your palatial log cabin and you could whittle with him on the porch. So this really matters to the guy. Canadian national team midfielder Matthew Choinière is returning to MLS. He's going to play for LAFC, according to The Athletic. The two-time MLS All-Star left for Switzerland last year. He's supposed to join when the summer transfer window opens July 24th. And if you've ever seen one of your homies finally land a job after being unemployed for a while, you get happy for the guy. This is not that type of story. Former USC basketball player Drew Peterson, well, he kind of disappeared for the last couple of years. Last I heard of him, he was in the G League over in South Dakota. Well, now he has a job. He signed a 2-way contract, and you want to feel happy for him until you realize he signed with the Charlotte Hornets. Bro, my condolences. But you let me know what you think in the comments thread. Talk to me about what you think about the Clippers offseason. And for that matter, what do you think the Dodgers should focus on as they head for the postseason? And if you enjoyed the content, don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. We're talking LA sports every single day here. Thanks for watching. I'm James. We'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelenos is a Kian Cortel Queso production. Take care.